The alien abduction case of Argentine truck driver Dionisio Llanca has left a remarkable impression in UFO history. Almost 50 years ago, he experienced a life-changing event that involved a flying saucer and 3 Nordic-looking aliens who talked in a high-pitched sound and took his blood sample. After the incident, he calmly arrived at a hospital in Bahia Blanca, but could not recognize many things due to partial memory loss. On October 27, 1973, Dionisio Llanca rested in his uncle Enrique Ruiz's house on Chubut Street, just a few minutes from the center of Bahia Blanca, Argentina. As he had to drive for long at night, he took an afternoon nap. He woke up in the evening at 6 p.m. local time and spent his time watching television until 10 p.m. He left the house at midnight on Sunday, October 28, 1973, saying goodbye to his uncle, and got into his truck, a Dodge 600, loaded with construction materials that needed to be transported to the city of Rio Gallegos. For Dionisio, this was a routine 2-day trip to the country's south. He had 12 years of driving experience, which made him observe conditions even in the dark. After 45 minutes of driving, he stopped at an Esso gas station on Don Bosco Street to refuel. There, he noticed that one of the tires had a little low gas, but he ignored it and decided to check it when he reached the town of Medinos in order to buy himself some time. At approximately 1:15 a.m., he stopped on a dark and desolate roadside in the cold night. He started getting out the tools, wrenches, jack, and changing the tire all by himself with no one around to help him. The road was completely deserted in a wooded area surrounded by complete darkness. While changing the tire, he noticed the road lit up with an intense yellowish glow about a mile away. Due to the color, he thought it might be the headlights of some car and continued working without paying more attention. As he knelt down changing the tire, suddenly the light was placed behind him, over the tops of the trees, becoming so bright that it illuminated the entire area and changed to a bluish color, similar to electric arc welding. According to Dionisio, they stood there looking at him for about 5 minutes. Then, one of the humanoids grabbed him from behind, holding his collar and lifted him up firmly, but not aggressively. He tried to speak, but his voice would not come out. While he was stopped by that humanoid, the other one placed a device, similar to a razor, at the base of Dionisio's left index finger and drew his blood. He believed that he lost consciousness shortly after seeing the drops of blood on his finger. The aliens were described as being of the Nordic type. They were 2 men and 1 woman, whom he identified because of the shape of her breasts and the long blonde hair that reached to mid-shoulders. The men were also blonde, but with shorter hair. They had about the same height, 4 to 5 feet, and wore a very tight one-piece gray uniform, orange boots, and long orange gloves that reached halfway down their arms. They did not have any belts, weapons, or helmets, or anything else. Their facial features were like human beings, except for their high foreheads and elongated eyes. They spoke to each other in a strange language, which sounded like a badly tuned radio with screeches and buzzes. Dionisio could not remember when he woke up, but it is believed that it was between 2 or 3 on the same Sunday morning. When he opened his eyes, he found himself between the cars in the courtyard of the Sociedad Rural de Bahia Blanca, about 9 kilometers from where the encounter with the aliens had happened. He was in a state of amnesia, as he could not even remember his name, the episode, the truck, or his house. He started walking down the road and passed out. When he woke up again, he continued walking along Route 3, and upon reaching the intersection of Route 35, one driver noticed him and took him to a police station where he was later transferred to a hospital in Bahia Blanca. It is still a mystery of what happened between the time of the encounter and the time when he woke up in the rural society of Bahia Blanca, some 9 kilometers away, and when Dr. Ricardo Smirnoff treated him at the Spanish hospital. Dr. Altopero declared that it was a curious case, since Llanca, a young man of about 25 or 26 years of age, was in a state of total amnesia. On October 30th, at 10 p.m., when he woke up in his bed in the Hospital Municipal of Bahia Blanca, he regained his memory and recalled the experience in detail up to when he fainted. His clothes were intact. He felt the urge to smoke and to know what time it was. His watch, cigarette lighter, and cigarettes were missing, but he still had his 150,000 pesos. He asked for his truck. He was more concerned about his truck than the UFO and its occupants. He was told that the police had found it parked on a roadside in Villa Bordeaux, about 18 kilometers from the city of Bahia Blanca. Fabio Zerp, an Uruguayan UFO researcher who resided in Argentina, investigated the Dionisio case and published on his book, El Reino Subterráneo. After several days and intense investigations, there was some information but not much, so they decided to also carry out hypnosis sessions. Dionisio underwent 3 hypnosis sessions which were done with the use of pentothal. Except for the first one, in each of the sessions, Dionisio seemed to repeat exactly the same. On November 5, 1973, Dionisio was hypnotized, which allowed him to relate the events he could not remember when he was on board the spacecraft for more than an hour. He explained during hypnosis that when they approached the truck, they did a biopsy. A small piece of skin tissue was removed from his left index finger with a razor-like device. Then a kind of yellowish ray of light came out of the ship, which took him to the oval interior of the ship. Once inside, he watched as the woman handled a series of instruments that he identified as medical and surgical equipment, perhaps preparing to examine him. One of the men, who Dionisio believed was the pilot, appeared to be sitting at the controls of the craft, holding a kind of joystick in his right hand. The other humanoid was watching the starry sky through a similar large pane of glass, an image that was repeated on a series of color monitors to Dionisio's left. He saw a woman, probably a nurse, who made an incision in his right parietal bone. Then, inadvertently, she hit his left brow ridge, causing a hematoma, or bruise, which the human doctors later examined and treated. When they finished examining his head, the aliens proceeded to anesthetize his wound. At this point, he was released from the spaceship completely unconscious, and later found wandering the streets in a state of amnesia, and his next memory of the incident was when he woke up in the Bahia Blanca Municipal Hospital. As the days passed, the case became widely popular in the area. The people in media started to irritate Dionisio to know more about the incident. Subsequently, he disappeared from the media and also moved away from his family and lived an incognito life. The story was finally published in La Nueva Provincia newspaper on December 8, 2013. It was translated into several languages because the impact and repercussions were so great that international media began to compare the versions that occurred in Argentina with very similar events from other countries.